Hey, this is your host Andres, and I welcome you to Where You Listening? An exploration of blackness in the songs we love. Today we'll be listening to Esto te pone la cabeza mala by Juan Formel y Los Bambán. I am very happy to address Esto te pone la cabeza mala because it was handpicked from our mixtape playlist by one of our listeners in Davis, California, my dear friend David, who I had the pleasure to meet and take dance classes with while I was living in St. Louis, Missouri, working on my PhD. Juan Formel was born in 1942 in La Habana, Cuba, and was an extremely prolific and highly technically trained composer and musical arranger. During the decade of the 1960s, Juan Formel performed with various groups and became Helio Revés' primary arranger. However, as a 2014 article from the Times London reveals, he arrived with a passion for the Beatles and a head full of ideas, which prompted Revés to quit his own band to form Orquesta Ritmo Oriental. Most of Revés' musicians instead chose to stay with Formel. Formel then founded Los Bambán the 4th of December of 1969. Since the band is alive and well, this highlights a remarkable fact. They have survived for more than half a century. The name of the band, Los Bambán, which literally would be translated to something like the Go-Goers, in fact means something closer to the Done Deals, because as Juan Formel explains in a 2000 interview, Ban Ban in Spanish means it will happen. In 2000, their album Llegó Ban Ban, or Ban Ban is Here, won the Latin Grammy for Best Salsa Album. In 2013, a year before his passing, Juan Formel won the Latin Grammy for Musical Excellence. In Esto te pone la cabeza mala, Juan Formel presents one of the main pieces of the approach with which he and Los Bambán create music, by fusing, mixing, and creating a multitude of rhythms. Let's listen. Los Bambán sing, vengo de Nigeria, Yoruba, Arará, Carabalí. Nigeria y Congo son mi tierra, Mozambique, Angola, soy de allí. I come from Nigeria, Yoruba, Arará, Carabalí. Nigeria and Congo are my motherland, Mozambique, Angola, I'm from there. The lyrics here refer to the African roots that many Cubans share as a consequence of the Atlantic trade of enslaved Africans, mostly from West and Central Africa, Nigeria, Angola, and Mozambique, of course, all African countries, the first two in the west coast of the continent. Yoruba, Arará, and Carabalí refer not to countries but to peoples, ethnic groups. The Yoruba people are mainly concentrated in what is today Nigeria. The Arará people are a minority Afro-Cuban ethnic group descending mainly from the kingdom of Dahomey in West Africa. Carabalí is the name given to people who were enslaved and traded from the old Calabar port in what is today Nigeria into the Americas. Los Bambán sing. esa música que heredamos hijos y nietos de los africanos, la que mezclamos con la española, con la francesa y la portuguesa, la que fundimos bien con la inglesa y por eso decimos que es una sola. That music we inherited, sons and grandsons of Africans, the one we mixed with Spanish music, with French music and Portuguese music, the one we fused well with English music, and that's what we say is just all one music. Here, the lyrics get at Juan Formel and Los Bambans' approach, the fusion of rhythms using the African roots as the backbone. Los Bambans sing timba con rumba y rock, mambo con conga y pop, salsa con Mozambique y clave de guaguancó. Timba with rumba and rock, mambo with conga and pop, salsa with Mozambique, and guaguancó clave. The first rhythm mentioned here, timba, was spearheaded by Juan Formel and Los Bambán. This is what he says in a 2000 interview, I quote, Los Bambán started it in 1969, Irakere in 1973, and then in 1978 Adalberto Álvarez and NG La Banda in 1980. That was the beginning of what we have today decided to call timba. Los Bambán sing cumbia, congas con swing, songo con samba y beat, merengue con bomba y son, y clave de guaguancó. Cumbia, congas with swing, songo with samba and beat, salsa with Mozambique, and guaguancó clave. As you can see, there's lots of rhythms mentioned here. There's Brazilian samba, there is Colombian cumbia, there's also salsa and guaguancó. All of them Afro-influence. And there is songo, a creation of Los Bambán, as a news article reveals. I quote, Juan Formel electrified the violins, which were retained from the lineup of the older style charanga orchestras from the 50s, added electric guitars and augmented the congas with drums, while his own heavy, angular electric bass playing infused the music. The result was a modern, hybrid salsa sound which Formel dubbed songo. This is the first chorus of the song. It says, bombo, canilla y campana, un buen güiro y hasta mañana. It is simply listing some of the instruments, such as bombo drum, cowbell, and güiro. Answers that the singer gives to the chorus are less related to the topic of African roots and simply express in a proud fashion the quality of their music. Among the sentences that the singer uses to reply to the chorus are Ay, con este ritmo tan afincao, bailen bien que aquí el que baila gana. Aquí si sale o si no sale la cosa es de aprendizaje. With this rhythm so strongly rooted, you could also say so well established, dance well y'all, because here the one who dances wins. We'll get it this time, or if we don't, it's a matter of learning. This is the second chorus of the song, and it says, Esto te pone la cabeza mala. This messes you up in the head. And of course, the implied reason being that the music is so good that it messes you up in the head. Finally, a second set of responses include y todo el mundo de pie con la mano en la cabeza. Everybody stand up with the hands in the head. This response displays a link between the band and the dancers who they are addressing directly. Other responses include ay mamá, cómo vengo este año, como, acabando y acabando, y angolonao, cómo es que te la pone a ti. Take a look woman, how I'm coming this year. How? Killing it. And angolonao. What is it that this music does to your head? Clearly here Los Bamban are simply displaying how proud they are of their music, and angolonao in particular, I could not find the meaning of, but I interpret it here to mean a feeling of belonging to Angola or to African roots in general. Juan Formel displayed great pride in his focus on the dancers, which is another of the main elements of his creative process. He says, and I quote, "Our music owes its aggressiveness and dynamic to the dancers, who, after all, demand it from you. As musicians, we have to recognize what it is the dancer needs. We give the dancers what they need." After an interviewer asked him, "What is the secret of Juan Formel?" he replied, "My secret is that I've never forgotten about the dancers. It really is the dancers who dictate the formula you have to follow, both in the rhythm and in the lyrics of the songs. They are the reason for the song and you adapt to them." So, if you have been out there, before COVID and all of this, dancing to some great Los Bamban music and thinking, these guys really get me with the music, the fusion, or the homage to African influences, guess what? It's because they really do get you. It is no accident. It is indeed their deliberate approach. Thank you for being here with me today. If you weren't listening, now you are.